This is Seth David from the world famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you another special screencast. This time we're giving you another introduction to product modeling with Microsoft Excel. This is part 2. Break out your units. Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call right now at 866-945-8070 for information about consulting or private trainings. We always record the live session with you so you can review it as often as you like after. So last week I built this little product model for you, and I did everything pretty much strictly based on dollars, right? We started out with a simple estimate of how many we thought we could sell in a month, and based on that we projected our revenue, and then we built into that set monthly sales increase of 5%. So now I want to take this a step further. And by the way, when you're building a financial model like this is the perfect way to start, is start off simple and then expand from there. And usually what expand from there means is now we extract information out of it to make it a little more complex, but also to give us more flexibility. So for example, it may not be that practical for me to set up the model this way beyond the initial layout. In other words, I may, for example, this just assumes a steady monthly sales increase, and the only option I have is to determine a set monthly sales increase in order to predict what the sales are going to be. Doesn't give me the flexibility to take cycles into account. For example, a lot of businesses that sell products are cyclical, which means certain times of the year the sales are going to dip, other times they're going to pick back up. So this doesn't give us the flexibility to do that. And for that matter, we may just want to be able to be specific in terms of how many units we're going to sell each month. So let's take a look at what that looks like now, because that's what we're going to do here. We're going to expand this. I'm going to actually kill off this assumption here. It's going to crash my formulas. And that's okay, because they're going to be calculated a little different way right now. And what we're going to do here is we're going to do this in terms of units instead of in terms of dollars. Right? So let's just zero all this out. We'll kill off the formula. So now if we're starting off with an estimate, with these as the estimates of how many we can sell, first of all, you always want to use labels to make it clear. This is sales volume in units. Excuse me. Been a long day. Lots of recordings. So we put the volume in there in terms of units. Let's get this out of here. Okay, so maybe we'll start off with this estimate here. Okay, but now we can be very specific. So we could put a set monthly increase, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say, you know what? I don't even want to do that. Let's format this whole section for input so I can just be very specific. And I can start off by saying, let's just set each month equal to the last, right? But this way now I can go in, and the cool thing about setting it up that way, and by the way, as usual, I went very fast. The way I did that was I can highlight this whole range of cells, right, from February through December. That way I can make a change. The actual selected cells you can see is G5 here. You can tell that from what's right up here. And so what I'm doing specifically in that cell, but I'm going to show you in a second how to actually make whatever change I place into this cell effective for all the cells in the highlighted range. So what I want to do now is, while I've got this selected, I hit an equal sign, and I'm just setting it equal to the previous cell. And if I want to make that change effective for the whole selected range, I simply hold down my Control key while I press Enter. So Control Enter populates that across the selected range. Now, of course, then I can copy that down very simply. Control C, Control V as in Victor, and that copies the formula down. So very quickly I can get this where I need it. And what's cool about doing it that way is, remember, it's relative. So wherever I go in here now, if I go into May, let's say, and say, you know what, in May, maybe we're a seasonal business that's based on better sales in the summer, right? So May, we're starting to get into the summer season. Maybe I'll include a slight increase in sales. So if I put 1,000 in here, notice what that does is it makes every month thereafter equal to 1,000, right? And then I can say in June it'll go up even more. Let's say we get to 1,500 units, right? And let's say by July it's 2,000 units, August 2,500, and now September will start dropping off again. Let's say we have a sharp drop. I don't know, this is where you as the business owner, as the person doing the financial modeling for the business owner, have to have some insight. into what you can expect. And sometimes it's just that, it's just a guess. Right? Remember, this is modeling. It's not an exact science. It's a guess, and if you, again, it's a guess if you're looking at it as modeling. If you're looking at it as a budget, then you want to be conservative. So you want to assume the worst here because we're looking at sales, right? That's the way to do it if I want to kind of budget and set, lay out what I think I'm going to be bringing in income-wise, so that I can make sure that I'm working within that framework on my expenses, right? Ultimately, making sure that expenses don't exceed income, hopefully. So, and also bearing in mind, and here's another perfect example of why this is so useful to do for a business, is it may be that I know in my slower months I'm going to see a loss. But then the idea is to budget properly for the good months so that I have enough reserves to sustain those losses over the months where I know things are going to be a little slow. And if I don't have an exercise like this to do to look at that, then I really am flying blind, and that's how a business can go out of business very easily. So let's say we drop off sharply back to our normal $800 a month. Boom, I punch in my 800, everything else is sort of fixed for me. Now let's say I want to use the same kind of percentage increase that I applied to here on the other products. Well, then here's a quick way to do that. And here's where, you just need some basic math skills. So, because I just kind of arbitrarily picked numbers here. But now I want to, kind of pull a formula out of that. So let's see what change that I assume was taking place here based on April to May, and then we'll copy it across. So it's relative, figuring it out for the rest of the range. So I want to take the difference, right? May's sales minus April's sales, divide that by April's sales, and the parentheses are important. Remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, parentheses first, then exponents, multiplication, division, and so on. So make sure you do that right. And this will give me the percentage increase that I effectively calculated here, even though I may not have actually thought about it that way. Okay, then I can copy that over. So now I know I've got this, right? So here's what I can do. This is a good trick to learn. And that's why I'm kind of excited about doing this series, because there's a lot of little tricks that, without having a specific example of something where I can use it, it's really hard to show you this stuff. So now that I've got these percentages, here's what I want to do. I want to take the range, Control C, right? And what I want to do is highlight the whole range across where I want it applied. Now watch this. I'm going to go to my Paste Special options. Up here on the left, you have Paste. Right? Let's just go to Paste Special. It's easier than trying to figure out what those icons mean, to be honest with you. What I want to do here is I want to multiply the result. I want to take what I'm copying and multiply it by whatever is in the selected area, right? And then click OK. And I got an error. Okay, so let's try that again. Let's go Paste Special. Okay, first of all, we paste the values and we multiply. That's what we need to do, and click OK. That gets me a result, kind of, sort of, not exactly what I was counting on or thinking. So let's back this up. And I don't mind making these kind of mistakes right in front of you. I could go back and edit this, but I won't, because I want you to see exactly how I work through this kind of stuff. So the idea is I want the same thing applied here. So you know what I need to do is I need to add 1 to all of these, right? Because that's really the increase or decrease for that matter. So let's try that. I'm using the keyboard shortcuts to get up to the Paste Special dialog, so I want to paste the values and multiply, and I don't want to paste the values, I just want to multiply it. Or maybe I do. Let's try the values multiply. Yep, that gets me where I want to be. So that was where I messed up, because I took the percentage increase, but if I want to get from the previous month to the new month with the proper increase factored in, I have to add 1 to these percentage differences, because these are the percentage differences. This is what the number should be when I apply that percentage difference, adding 1 to it. And sure enough, this way I get the same kind of trend. So that, my friends, is how we can pull the units out. Now from here it's pretty easy to do the actual sales dollars, right? Sales in dollars. Let's for a minute just copy this whole table over. Okay. Then we'll zero these out. We don't want them formatted for input, right? Because this is going to be calculated. And then the formula is pretty easy because I'm going to take the corresponding, and let me just copy all this information over just so it's clear. Okay, so this way, by doing this, and here's another thing, whenever you do something like this, never duplicate information. Always set it equal to the corresponding section above it. And the reason why now is when I do it this way, and let me reformat this, if I change something here, it will update here automatically. So now if I change this price to 5.14, it changes down here. So this way, again, that's exactly why you never want to duplicate data in a model like this, because this way I only have one place to change something. I don't have to remember all the places to go. So now to calculate the sales is very easy, right? I've got the units that I'm going to sell in a particular month, which is now actually going to come from up here, right? Times the corresponding unit price. Copy that. Now before I copy this across, I want to make sure this unit price reference remains constant. So the unit price is in cell C5. I come back over here in my formula, right? And it's taking C15 actually. I'm sorry. C5 is what it is up here. C15 is the same thing here. So I want that C reference held constant. So I'm going to put a $sign there. I want the 15 to copy down because on the next line I want to grab the 15.95 and the 25.95. But now, with that formula written that way, I should be able to copy this across. And this should get me to where I need to be in terms of sales. Never, ever, ever hurts to test these things out, though. Right? So, let's just say equals, or just go into the formula. Make sure the formula is coming from the right place. If I click here in the edit screen, it shows me, it uses the colors to show me I'm grabbing from here, I'm multiplying by this, so I know I'm all set. Do a random test, click on one in the middle, just to be sure. It's grabbing from the middle one, it's getting the right price, so now I know for sure that this is the correct information coming in. So now I can go in here all day and I can play around with my sales numbers, right? Very, very easy to do. All I have to do now is, first of all, come in and remember there's a formula in some of these now. So we got to be careful about that. Just because I change this one here, it doesn't mean the next one's going to change, right? Although this one is pretty much set equal to, so it will apply the same percentage increase regardless of what I set this to, just because of how I did it. But the point I want to get at is, let's say I don't want that. What I can do is I can highlight this whole entire range, Control C to copy. Let's go back to my paste special dialog and paste values. Now what this is going to do is it's going to take what's in the cell in terms of its result, right? And it's going to paste the value right back onto itself. In other words, I'm going to overwrite the formula with whatever's in that cell right now. So, for example, before I do it, right now cell K6 has a formula that says give me J6 times 1.5, right? Give me a 50% increase over the previous month. What I want to do is that's going to change now when I finish doing what I was about to do into, this cell is now going to be just a straight $1,125. All right, so we copy, paste special, values, okay, boom, no more formula. The 125 is gone. So now I'm back to just hard numbers. This way I can go in here and once again very specifically decide how many units I think I can sell. And that's it, folks, for the unit side of the product modeling. The next section we do on this, we're going to actually take it even a level deeper, and we're going to start looking at salespeople. We're going to list a couple salespeople, how many units can they sell, and we're going to extend this and build this out further. I can keep going and going and going on this stuff. To me, this is a lot of fun, because this is where I get to really take a look at what do I think I can do with this business? Where do I think I can take this business? And ultimately, again, going back to that same question where I'll sit the owner down and we'll look at these numbers and I'll say, can you hit these numbers? Can you sell this many units in a month? If so, then let's plan accordingly, and now let's look at your expenses, and then we start looking at that, and ultimately the goal is making sure A, that we're profitable, B, that we're able to set aside some reserves for the lean months, and or C, that we can plan on purchasing things that we need, major equipment, anything we might need, or hiring people based on knowing that we're going to build this sales goal as time goes on, and knowing that hopefully we can hit these numbers with our eyes closed. That's the whole key, is knowing that you can hit these numbers, making sure we are conservative when we set up these estimates. If you have any questions, as always, email me, Seth@nerdenterprises.com. Post your comments below wherever you're watching this, whether it's on YouTube or in the blog. And I hope, as usual, that you are having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web.